The silent death captain. Zara Voss stared at the tactical display, her weathered hands gripping the bridge railing until her knuckles turned white. Another red marker had appeared on the galactic map. The Altair system, home to 12 billion souls just 3 days ago. Now it was nothing but cosmic dust and radiation. Confirmation from long-range sensors, Captain, reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. Complete stellar collapse, no survivors detected. Zara closed her eyes and felt the familiar weight of helplessness settle on her shoulders. In the past 8 months, the Kethavar Empire had erased 27 star systems from existence. Not conquered, erased. Their method was always the same. Appear without warning, deploy some incomprehensible weapon that destabilized the local star, and vanish before anyone could mount a defense. The bridge of the Coalition dreadnought Defiant hummed with barely contained tension. Her crew had witnessed too much death, fought too many hopeless battles. The Galactic Defense Coalition's finest ships were like insects against the Kethavar technology. Captain, incoming priority transmission from Coalition Command, Torres announced. The holographic display shimmered to life, revealing the haggard face of Admiral Chen Watanabe. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his usually pristine uniform showed wrinkles of sleepless nights. Zara, I have new orders for you. Redirect to the Kepler sector immediately. The Kepler sector? Zara frowned. Admiral, that's been dead space for 4 centuries. Nothing there but abandoned human colonies. That's what we thought. Watanabe's expression grew grimmer. 30 minutes ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected an energy signature from Kepler 442b. Something is active down there, and it's broadcasting on frequencies we haven't seen since the Terran Protectorate fell. A chill ran down Zara's spine. The humans had been gone for 400 years, their civilization collapsing in a series of brutal civil wars that left their worlds uninhabitable. Most species had written them off as another failed experiment in galactic citizenship. What kind of signal? We don't know. It's encrypted using quantum protocols that predate the Coalition, but Zara... The Admiral paused, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. The signal strength is massive. Whatever's generating it has more power than anything in our current fleet. On the tactical display, another alarm chimed. The Proxima system, another red marker appeared as billions more lives winked out of existence. There's something else, Watanabe continued. The signal activated exactly 17 minutes after the Kethavar hit Proxima. It's like something was waiting. Zara felt a strange mixture of hope and dread. Could the humans have left behind some kind of automated defense? Or was this another trap, another weapon that would add to the galaxy's suffering? Understood, Admiral. We're changing course now. She cut the transmission and turned to her navigation officer. Set course for Kepler 442b. Maximum warp. As the Defiant entered hyperspace, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. In the depths of space, something ancient stirred, and the galaxy held its breath. The awakening, Doctor. Kai Nakamura pressed his palm against the viewing port of the research shuttle Discovery, watching as Kepler 442b grew larger in the viewport. The planet hung in space like a brown and gray marble, its surface scarred by centuries of abandonment. Dead cities sprawled across continents, their skeletal remains visible even from orbit. Fascinating, he murmured, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. As the Coalition's leading expert on extinct civilizations, Kai had studied human ruins across dozens of worlds, but something about this place felt different, alive, despite its desolation. Dr. Nakamura, we're detecting massive energy readings from the planet's core, called out Ensign Riley from the pilot's seat. Whatever's down there is drawing power from the planetary magnetic field itself. Kai pulled up the sensor data on his tablet, his dark eyes widening at the readings. Impossible. The energy output is equivalent to a small star. How could the humans have built something like this 4 centuries ago? Captain Voss's voice crackled through the comm system from the Defiant in orbit above. Doctor, we're seeing seismic activity across the northern continent. Something big is moving down there. Through the shuttle's enhanced sensors, Kai watched as massive sections of the planet's crust began to shift. Ancient fault lines, dormant for millennia, suddenly came alive with purpose. The ground split open in perfect geometric patterns, revealing depths that shouldn't exist. "Captain, I'm reading atmospheric processors coming online," Ensign Riley reported, her voice tight with disbelief. "The planet is terraforming itself." Kai gripped his seat as the shuttle shook from gravitational fluctuations. Below them, the northern continent was literally opening like a flower. Massive plates of rock and metal peeled back, revealing a cavern so vast it could house entire fleets. And from within that impossible depth, something was rising. "By the void," Riley whispered. A ship emerged from the planet's heart, but calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a pebble. The vessel stretched for kilometers, its hull composed of materials that shifted between metallic silver and deep obsidian. Strange geometric patterns pulsed along its surface, creating waves of light that hurt to look at directly. "Doctor, are you seeing this?" Captain Voss's voice carried a note of awe and terror. Kai was frantically scanning the emerging vessel with every instrument at his disposal. "Captain, the hull composition is unlike anything in our databases. It's not just metal, it's some kind of programmable matter. And the power signature." He paused, double-checking his readings. "It's not drawing power from the planet anymore. It's generating its own." The colossal ship cleared the planetary surface completely, rotating slowly as ancient systems awakened. Sections of the hull shifted and reconfigured, revealing weapon arrays that defied conventional design. Instead of traditional cannons or missile tubes, the ship bristled with devices that seemed to bend space itself around them. "Look at the markings," Riley pointed to her screen. Kai enhanced the image and felt his breath catch. Along the ship's hull, barely visible beneath centuries of dormancy, were symbols he recognized from his studies. The stylized eagle of the Terran Protectorate surrounded by text in ancient Earth script. "TPS Prometheus," he read aloud. "Terran Protectorate Ship Prometheus." "Doctor, we're receiving a transmission," Riley announced. It's automated, but the signal is incredibly sophisticated." The shuttle's communications array crackled to life, and a voice spoke, human, but processed through systems that made it sound ancient and vast. "Sentinel protocol activated. Threat assessment, critical. Primary directive, preserve galactic stability. Secondary directive, protect developing civilizations. Warning, Kethvar incursion detected, deploying countermeasures." The transmission cut out, leaving the shuttle in stunned silence. Below them, the Prometheus began to move, its impossible bulk accelerating with surprising grace. It turned toward the edge of the system, where long-range sensors had detected an approaching Kethvar patrol. "Captain Voss," Kai called urgently. "We need to follow that ship. If the humans built this as some kind of defensive measure, we need to understand what it's capable of." The response came immediately. "Agreed, Doctor. But we're keeping our distance. Something tells me we're about to witness something the galaxy hasn't seen in 400 years. As the Prometheus disappeared into hyperspace, Kai stared at the data scrolling across his screens. Whatever the humans had been preparing for, they had been planning it for centuries. And now their final gambit was awakening. The Guardian Rise's Lieutenant Commander Jackson Reeves had witnessed every major battle of the Kethvar War, but nothing had prepared him for what he was watching through the tactical display of the Coalition battlecruiser Vigilant. His analytical mind, trained to break down enemy formations and predict battle outcomes, simply couldn't process what the Prometheus was doing. "Sir, the human vessel has entered the Vega system," reported Specialist Chen from the sensor station. 3 Kethvar. Battle groups are converging on its position, approximately 40 ships total. Jackson adjusted his uniform collar, a nervous habit he'd developed during the war. 40 Kethvar vessels were enough to sterilize an entire sector. He'd seen fleets twice that size reduced to scrap metal by a single Kethvar dreadnought. "Distance. To engagement zone?" he asked. 12 light minutes and closing. We should have visual contact in—" Chen paused, his face paling. "Sir, the engagement has already begun." The main screen flickered to life, showing the Vega system in enhanced detail. The Prometheus hung in space like a dark monument, completely motionless as the Kethvar fleet approached in perfect attack formation. Their ships were sleek, predatory things that moved with unnatural fluidity, their hulls shifting between dimensions as they prepared to deploy their star-killing weapons. "They're not even trying to communicate," Jackson muttered. "The Kethvar always demand surrender first." The lead Kethvar vessel, a massive dreadnought twice the size of any coalition ship, fired first. A lance of pure entropy, the weapon that had murdered entire star systems, streaked across space toward the Prometheus. Jackson held his breath, expecting to see the human ship vaporized instantly. Instead, the entropy beam simply stopped. It struck an invisible barrier around the Prometheus and scattered like light through a prism, harmlessly dispersing into space. "Impossible," whispered Chen. "Their shields just nullified an entropy weapon." The Prometheus remained perfectly still for another moment, as if considering its response. Then, without any visible weapon discharge, the lead Kethvar dreadnought simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, not destroyed, not exploded, just gone as if it had never been. "What did it do?" Chen's voice cracked with disbelief. Jackson was frantically analyzing the sensor data. "I'm reading spatial distortions around the target zone. It's like space itself was folded and the ship was edited out of reality." The remaining Kethvar vessels responded with fury, unleashing a coordinated barrage that could have cracked a moon. Entropy beams, quantum torpedoes, and dimensional rifts all converged on the Prometheus simultaneously. The human ship's response was methodical, almost casual. It rotated slowly, presenting different sections of its hull to different attackers. Each weapon array that came to bear seemed to operate on completely different principles. One section fired beams of crystallized time that aged attacking ships into dust. Another launched projectiles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, striking targets that thought they were safely phased. "Sir, we're counting 15 Kethvar vessels destroyed in the past 30 seconds, Chen reported, his voice hollow with shock. "The Prometheus hasn't taken any damage." Jackson watched a Kethvar cruiser attempt to ram the human vessel at near light speed, a desperate tactic that should have at least scratched the hull. Instead, the cruiser passed harmlessly through the Prometheus as if it were a hologram, then rematerialized inside a nearby asteroid, its atoms scattered across several cubic kilometers of rock. "It's not just using advanced technology," Jackson realized aloud. "It's operating on completely different physical laws." The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. When it was over, the Vega system was littered with the quantum remnants of 40 Kethvar warships. The Prometheus hung in space, completely undamaged, as if nothing had happened. Then, for the first time since its awakening, the ship moved with purpose. It turned toward the edge of the system, where long-range sensors detected the approach of the main Kethvar battle fleet, over 300 ships including their massive command vessel. "Sir," Chen's voice was barely a whisper. "It's heading straight for them." Jackson activated the ship-wide communications. "All hands, we are about to witness something unprecedented. Whatever happens next, remember that you are watching history unfold." As the Prometheus accelerated toward impossible odds, Jackson couldn't help but wonder, what kind of enemy had the humans been preparing to fight that required building something like this? And more importantly, were the Kethvar that enemy, or was something even worse coming? The Guardian had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same. The last Vice Admiral Marcus Sterling awoke to the gentle hum of failing life support systems and the soft blue glow of emergency lighting. His cryogenic chamber hissed open with a sound like escaping breath, and 400 years of dreamless sleep fell away like morning fog. His body ached with the deep cold that never quite left those who had slept so long, but his mind was sharp, sharper than it had been in centuries. "Admiral Sterling," the ship's AI spoke with a voice like distant thunder. "Awakening cycle complete. Current galactic date, 2847 Standard. Time elapsed since Project Sentinel activation, 412 years, 7 months, 14 days." Marcus sat up slowly, his weathered hands gripping the edges of the chamber. Through the observation deck's massive viewport, he could see the Kethvar command fleet approaching, a dark swarm of 300 vessels that blotted out the stars. He had been dreaming of this moment for 4 centuries. "Status report, Athena," he said, his voice hoarse from disuse. "Kethvar incursion has reached critical threshold. 27 star systems eliminated. Estimated galactic population loss, 400 billion souls. Local species show insufficient technological development to counter the threat. Recommend immediate activation of Protocol 7. Marcus pulled himself to his feet, muscles remembering their purpose despite the long sleep. His reflection in the chamber's polished surface showed a man frozen at the age of 55, gray-haired and battle-scarred, but with eyes that held the weight of humanity's final sacrifice. "Not yet, Athena. First, we need to understand what we're truly fighting." He walked to the central command throne, a masterpiece of human engineering that interfaced directly with the ship's consciousness. As he settled into the seat, neural connections activated, and suddenly Marcus Sterling was the Prometheus. He could feel every hull plate, every weapon system, every quantum field generator. Through the ship's sensors, he studied the approaching Kethvar fleet. But what he saw made his blood run cold. The ships weren't just advanced, they were wrong. Their hulls shifted between dimensions. Their energy signatures pulsed with frequencies that shouldn't exist in normal space. "Athena, run a deep scan on the lead vessel. I want to know what's driving them." The AI complied, and the results confirmed Marcus's worst fears. "Admiral, detecting quantum parasites within all Kethvar vessels. Analysis indicates external control. These beings are not acting of their own volition." Marcus closed his eyes and accessed memories sealed for 4 centuries. The final days of humanity flashed before him, not the civil wars that the galaxy believed had destroyed them, but the terrible truth. The discovery of tears in reality itself, the invasion from beyond the dimensional barriers, the choice to sacrifice everything to buy the galaxy time. "Open a channel to all Coalition vessels in the area," Marcus commanded. Across 3 star systems, every Coalition ship received the transmission simultaneously. Captain Voss aboard the Defiant, Dr. Nakamura in his research shuttle, Lieutenant, Commander Reeves on the Vigilant, all heard the voice of a dead civilization speaking from beyond the grave. "This is Admiral Marcus Sterling of the Terran Protectorate Defense Command. I am the last human in active service, awakened to fulfill humanity's final duty to this galaxy." The silence that followed was deafening. Then, hesitantly, Captain Voss responded, "Admiral, we thought humanity was extinct." Marcus smiled grimly. "That was the point, Captain. 4 centuries ago, we discovered something that terrified us more than our own extinction, an invasion from outside our reality. Entities we called the Void Collective, creatures that exist between dimensions and consume entire universes." He paused, letting the weight of those words settle. "The Kethvar aren't conquerors, Captain. They're victims. The Void Collective has been using them as tools, testing this galaxy's defenses, preparing for the real invasion. What you've witnessed, the destruction of star systems, that was just reconnaissance." Dr. Nakamura's voice crackled through the comm. "But why didn't humanity warn the galaxy? Why hide?" "Because," Marcus replied, his voice heavy with ancient pain, "we tried to fight them openly. We lost 1,000 worlds in the first week. The only way to protect the galaxy was to make everyone believe we were gone, to hide our preparations, to become ghosts while we built weapons that could fight creatures that exist outside normal physics." The reckoning. The galaxy held its breath as reality itself screamed. Admiral Marcus Sterling felt the Prometheus shudder as the dimensional tears widened, releasing horrors that had no names in any living language. Through the ship's neural interface, he experienced the approach of the Void Collective as a wrongness that made his soul recoil, entities of pure entropy that existed to unmake everything that was. "All Coalition vessels, this is Captain Voss," came the transmission from the Defiant. We stand with you, Admiral. What are your orders? Marcus felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in 4 centuries. Humanity had died to give these species a chance, and they were choosing to take it. Form defensive positions around the Prometheus, he commanded. You're about to see what 400 years of preparation looks like. Across the galaxy, ancient systems came online. On dead worlds humanity had once called home, massive installations buried beneath centuries of ash began to hum with power. Hidden stations in the void between stars activated weapons that existed partially outside normal space. Even the ruins on Earth itself stirred to life, revealing that humanity's homeworld had been one vast defensive platform all along. But it was not enough. The entities pouring through the dimensional rifts defied description. Living geometries that turned matter into concept, creatures of unlight that aged space itself. The possessed Kethvar fleet moved to protect their masters, their ships now twisted into impossible configurations. Sterling, a new voice cut through the chaos, ancient, arrogant, and tinged with surprise. It was Emperor Vexthul of the Kethvar, speaking for the first time without the Void Collective's influence. How are you doing this? How are you freeing my people? Marcus smiled grimly as he watched Kethvar vessels shaking off their dimensional parasites, their crews suddenly remembering who they had been before the invasion. We learned something about fighting monsters, Emperor. Sometimes you have to become something monstrous yourself. The Prometheus began its transformation in earnest. The ship that had seemed impossibly large revealed itself to be merely a shell. Layers of hull peeled away like flower petals, exposing the true weapon within. A construct that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously, its very presence causing reality to stabilize around it. Dr. Nakamura's voice crackled through the comm from his research vessel. Admiral, the quantum mathematics of what you've built, it's beyond anything we thought possible. We had good teachers, Marcus replied, thinking of the human scientists who had sacrificed their sanity to understand dimensional physics. The Void Collective made one mistake. They assumed we would fight them with conventional weapons. Lieutenant E. Commander Reeves watched from the Vigilant as space itself began to heal around the Prometheus. Sir, the dimensional tiers are stabilizing. Whatever that ship is doing, it's literally reinforcing reality. But the Void Collective was not defenseless. From the largest rift, something vast emerged. A creature that was absence given form. A living wound in existence that consumed light, matter, and thought itself. Its presence caused stars to flicker and die. The Devourer, Marcus whispered, recognizing it from humanity's darkest nightmares. Athena, activate Protocol Omega. Admiral, the AI responded with something approaching emotion. Protocol Omega requires, I know what it requires. Marcus's voice was steady. Do it. Across the galaxy, every human installation began drawing power from sources that shouldn't exist. Temporal energy, quantum foam, the zero-point field itself. The very fabric of space-time began to sing as humanity's final gambit activated. Captain Voss felt her heart skip as she watched the Prometheus begin to glow with light that came from beyond the visible spectrum. Admiral, your ship is generating more energy than our entire sun. Not generating, Marcus corrected. Channeling. We're about to show the Void Collective what happens when a species chooses to burn out rather than fade away. The Devourer struck, reality dissolving around its touch. But where its unexistence met the Prometheus's hyper-reality, something impossible happened. The nothing and the everything canceled each other out, creating a zone of perfect, crystalline normalcy. Now, Marcus shouted. Every human weapon fired simultaneously, temporal cannons that aged their targets out of existence, quantum missiles that struck in multiple timelines at once, reality anchors that forced the void entities back into the spaces between dimensions where they belonged. Emperor Vexthul's voice rang out as his freed fleet joined the battle. For our lost worlds, for our stolen centuries. The battle raged across 17 dimensions, fought with weapons that redefined the laws of physics. Coalition vessels found themselves protected by fields of crystallized time, their weapons upgraded by human technology that turned their simple energy beams into reality-cutting swords. When it was over, the dimensional rifts sealed with sounds like the universe sighing in relief. The surviving void entities retreated to whatever hell had spawned them, and the Cathavar fleet hung in space, their crews weeping for the first time in 3 centuries. Marcus Sterling slumped in his command throne, feeling the weight of 400 years of vigilance finally lifting from his shoulders. The Prometheus powered down, its hull scarred but intact. "Admiral," Captain Voss's voice was soft with awe. "What happens now?" Marcus looked out at the stars, cleaner and brighter than they had been in centuries. Now you get to find out what the galaxy can become when it's not afraid of the dark." In the distance, other ships were emerging from hyperspace, vessels bearing the marks of a dozen coalition species, all coming to witness the dawn of a new age. The galaxy had been tested and had chosen unity over extinction. Humanity's vigil was finally over, but their legacy would endure in the stars they had died to protect. And in the void between dimensions, ancient entities nursed their wounds and whispered of the species that had dared to say no to the darkness itself.